Our Scripps News Investigative Team is digging into multiple cases of child fentanyl poisoning deaths in which no one has been held criminally responsible. National investigative correspondent Lori Jane Gliha is live now with the latest in her investigative series called Poisoned: Fentanyl's Child Victims. Lori Jane, I understand you and your team have found multiple cases that seem to be just left in limbo.
Yes, Diane, in examining more than 400 individual cases from around the country, we realized there were several that seemed to be unresolved. So we set out to find out why some cases have not been brought to justice, sometimes years after a child's death. This was Serenity Hernandez. She died in Avondale, Arizona. This one's from Washington. There's cases from Florida. This case is involving a 1-year-old who died in 2020. She died in 2020. No one was held accountable. So this is the child fatality report. This case is still in limbo. The child died of fentanyl poisoning. This is a 4-year-old, a little boy. He died in 2020. He was 2 years old. He died in Tolleson. All of these folders represent a child who died, whose case was never criminally prosecuted.
For more than 2 years, we've been investigating child fentanyl poisonings. Some cases end with people going to prison.
You are under arrest. Someone has been held accountable.
Sentenced to 45 years, 20 years in prison.
But other cases don't make the news, and no one is arrested or prosecuted. Our Scripps News investigation found at least 43 cases nationwide of children who died more than a year ago in which no one has been charged. We set out to get to the bottom of why some child death cases don't get prosecuted.
We found a lot of deaths in Arizona, and we wanted to know what happened to these cases, so we decided to come here to get some answers.
Is that better? Okay. And we will start with your name and tell me your title too, please.
Lieutenant Thomas Parker with the Apache Junction Police Department.
Lieutenant Parker oversees the detectives who handled the fentanyl death of 3-year-old Damian Coates in January 2023.
Did this child get justice?
I hate to say that, but I don't think it's so in this case.
Scripps News obtained the public documents showing the outcome of a State Department of Child Safety investigation into Damian's death. That investigation found Damian's mother knowingly allowed the child to reside in a home with active fentanyl users. It also found his maternal grandmother was also responsible for neglect. We tried to reach out to both women in multiple ways, but have not yet heard back.
Do you think a crime was committed here?
The medical staff advised that this is a street-level fentanyl, so then the answer would be yes.
Your department presented this to the prosecutor's office.
Absolutely.
And what happened?
So based on the information that was provided, the Maricopa County Prosecutor's Office at this time does not believe that there's enough evidence to be able to prosecute a person.
Do you think that's a fair decision?
It's heartbreaking.
Damian's is among several child fentanyl death cases that have been sitting for more than a year with no criminal charges in Maricopa County, Arizona, one of the most populated counties in the country.
The county attorney has been giving us information via email over the last couple of years on cases that are still unsolved or still being investigated. But when we asked for an interview about why some of these cases were not prosecuted, they declined our request.
We found at least 8 other child fentanyl deaths or near deaths in the Phoenix area in which no one has been held criminally accountable. All happened more than a year ago, one nearly 5 years ago. In that 2020 case, law enforcement has yet to complete its report. Prosecutors are still deciding what to do in 2 cases from 2022, and the county attorney turned down 5 for prosecution, including the death of Damian Coates, saying there was no reasonable likelihood of conviction. A spokesperson for the county attorney told us they have prosecuted many cases related to child fentanyl deaths, and in an email said these cases are tough and often need layer upon layer of evidence to have a reasonable likelihood of conviction. Those layers can take time. a lot of time.
Even the prosecutors, they don't want to turn down cases, but there are laws and procedures in the system to make sure that we are having the proper methods of justice, which is why they have to operate within certain rules.
What would you say are the main obstacles in presenting a fentanyl case in which a child has died?
We're trying to figure out the date and when and the timing of this, and then obviously the exposure to how much, right? These are all concerns that we really don't know the answers to. We have to show very, very specific who is responsible.
A police report we obtained from Damien's case indicated the case was closed last year, but after Scripps News raised questions, the lieutenant told us he's not giving up.
What is the likelihood that this case is going to be prosecuted at any point in the future?
If we cannot get the homicide charges, if we can go for a lower felony, then that's what we will pursue.
He says Damien's death has touched many who worked on the case, and he imagines where the little boy would be today.
He would be 5 years old this year. I'm sure he would love to be at the playground playing stuff. So let's give Damien the justice that he deserves.
Lori Jangliha, Scripps News, Phoenix.
Now, several of the cases we're tracking did happen here in Colorado, including 2 that were in Aurora, where children died more than a year ago. One of those cases is still being reviewed by the prosecutor for possible charges. And in the other case, the death of a toddler named Bryce Wilhite Jr. several years ago, police just told us this week they are hoping for clues from the public that would help them close that case. Diane.
Lori Jane, your investigation really has spanned the nation. So what are some of the reasons some of these cases do not move forward?
Well, prosecutors' offices around the country have said it can be often tough to prove who in a child's life exposed them to fentanyl. In some cases, a child may have lived in a home with multiple adults or spent time with several caregivers. So that can make it tough to figure out whose drugs the child ingested and how it happened, Diane.
So is everyone on board with prosecution and the level of punishment that comes with this? In many of the cases, it's an accident.
Yeah, well, there are disparities everywhere you go. We've seen parents in Colorado sentenced to serve more than a decade in prison after their child died. But we also saw one mother end up with probation here in Colorado in the death of her child. We've seen other cases around the country in which a child survived, but the caregiver got years in prison. There are a lot of circumstances that play into how these cases are, how people are held accountable, Diane.
Lori Jangliha, your reporting is so important. Thanks so much. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. The hotline will help you address substance use, emotional or mental health concerns. They offer immediate support and can direct you to walk-in centers.